Om Sthavakaya च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Revered Swami Sarvadevananda Ji Maharaj, other revered monks and nuns, and dear friends, it's a delight to be back here again. I was on my way back to New York, but then I thought, I have this weekend, and why not go to Hollywood? Yes, and here I am. Just yesterday, day before yesterday, I was at the Grand Canyon, sightseeing, my first time in my life. And, yes. And we were also shown a wonderful IMAX movie on the Grand Canyon. Now, I was just wondering, standing there in that vast, extraordinary creation of nature, more than 200 miles, and then wide, more than 10 miles or so, something like that. Extraordinary. And we are reading that, we saw in that IMAX movie, there are multiple tribes of Indians who lived there for more than 4,000 years. And there was a nice depiction of their lives. Various different tribes at different times, different kinds of lives. And I was just thinking over in that extraordinary landscape for 4,000 years before us, so many generations, so many people, families and mothers and fathers and children and grandchildren, lives of struggle and sorrow and laughter and thought. And that place is also what's called a dark sky park. And the Sedona, the city near it, is also a dark sky city, which is a very nice concept because of the high desert air. The night sky is especially spectacular there. I saw a little bit of it, not as much as you would expect if you actually stay in the Grand Canyon or in Sedona. Some of the famous observatories are there. The Loyal Observatory is there. And imagine, thousands of years ago, these Indians who lived there on the cliffs and the rocky faces of the Grand Canyon, staring up into the blazing sky above, the stars. In Asimov's phrase, the stars like dust. The stars like dust spread across the sky. The vastness of space. The oceans of time. When you look up there, they dwarf even the Grand Canyon. They dwarf the earth itself. Long before, those stars have seen the birth of the earth, and let alone the Grand Canyon. For them, these 4,000 years of human history in that Grand Canyon is like a flicker, like a blink of an eye. How much more so our own little lives? We are dwarfed by these oceans of time and space, which we look around and when we wander there. And yet today we're going to talk about something greater than all of that. There's a saying which I like. Recently I saw it attributed to Emerson. I'm not very sure. But the saying goes like this: whatever lies behind us and whatever lies in front of us, ahead of us, is as nothing compared to what is within us. So all the oceans of time and space which we see before us and behind us when we look behind, even they are dwarfed by the immensity within us. Within us, it means our true nature, what we truly are. I'm reminded of a beautiful verse in a 14th, 15th century Advaita text, the Panchadashi. Masabda yugakalpeshu gatagameshu anekadha naudeti nastameteka samvidesha swayam prabha. Days and months roll by, years pass by, decades and centuries roll by and vanish. Eons and ages roll by, universes rise and set and rise again. But the sun of consciousness, ever blazing, samvit, this one blazing light of consciousness, neither rises nor sets. It's ever shining. And Vedanta says that's what we are. That's our real nature. We dwarf this universe even in the immensity of its space. We dwarf this universe even in the immensity of its time. They play out in our radiance. The whole of Vedanta, it can be compressed if you just want to make it into the brief, the basic, the skeleton of it. I have this friend who is a mathematician, a pure mathematician, a monk. One day I was excited about a book of mathematical logic. It was an introductory book. I was reading it, a big book. And I excitedly told him about it. And he said, "Show me the book." He took the book and he went to the last page. At the cover, between the cover, there's a cheat sheet. All the formulae are given. If it's a textbook, sometimes you'll have all the formula there. He spent a couple of minutes looking at the formulae. And he said, "Slam the book shut." "Okay, I've got it." And then he said, "Why so verbose? Why talk so much?" The essence. I want the essence. For a highly trained mind like that, a person who is trained in pure mathematics and abstract thinking like that, he just needs the equation, just this much, not your whole explanation of the thing, not a 500-page textbook. So what's the basic, the Advaitic, from first principles, from our experience and reason? It can be put in very few words, but expanded across vast literatures on non-duality. The very few words, you can put it this way, for example. You are awareness. Whatever you are aware of, that you are not. That's the first step. That's not the final position, however. First step is, you are awareness. You are aware. And then we are aware of so many things. Whatever you are aware of, that you are not. So clearly we are aware of our own bodies, and that means obviously we are not the body. We are aware of our own minds and thoughts and emotions. We are not even the minds and thoughts and emotions and personality. We are just awareness. But that's just step one. The next, time and space and everything that we experience is in awareness. We experience it in awareness. So if time is in awareness, awareness is not something going through time. Rather, time is something that is experienced in awareness. The argument would be awareness itself is beyond time in that case. It would be eternal, let us say. If space itself is experienced in awareness, then awareness itself would be all-pervasive, not limited in space. And if everything that we experience in life, we experience in awareness, by definition. After all, experience is awareness plus an object. So whatever we experience in awareness. So those objects do not constitute something other than awareness. The objects we experience are not, you're already looking puzzled, don't worry. We'll cover this ground again and again throughout the next 1 hour. But here in that case, no object is an other to awareness because they're all experienced within awareness. If space, time, and objects are experienced in awareness, then awareness itself becomes limitless, all-pervasive in space, eternal, and non-dual with respect to the objects. The objects do not constitute a countable second with respect to awareness. And therefore, awareness becomes limitless, infinite, in fact, the only reality that there is. And that you are, Tattvamasi. That's Advaita Vedanta in a nutshell. And that too from direct experience and arguing from first principles. That's just a first pass at it. We'll do this a few more times today. What I'm going to talk about today, this very poetic title, The Mirror of Consciousness. I'm using the words consciousness and awareness interchangeably. The mirror of consciousness. And this is borrowed from Adi Shankaracharya's very beautiful hymn, Dakshinamurti Stotram. The hymn to Dakshinamurti. Dakshinamurti is an incarnation of Shiva. Shiva is the teacher, the giver of knowledge, giver of enlightenment. There's a funny story which is about Dakshinamurti. How did Shiva come to take the incarnation of Dakshinamurti? The 4 original sages, Sanaka, Sanandan, Sanat Kumar, at one time they thought, let's learn meditation. And they said, let's go to our father. Our heavenly father is Brahma, the creator of the universe. So these sages go to Brahma. Can you teach us meditation? Now they saw Brahma is very busy. He's the creator. God subcontracts Brahma to make the universe. So Brahma has many projects. And the sages found him extremely busy. And they found him a very uninspiring figure to teach meditation. Very restless, full of lots and lots of stuff to do. So they were disillusioned. They said, this is not a person we can learn meditation from. Then they said, let's go to Vishnu. And then they go to Vishnu. And they find Vishnu is like a couch potato. He's relaxing on the cosmic serpent, dozing off. And Sri Lakshmi is massaging his feet. And this is not a guy who can teach us meditation. He's already dozing anyway. It's a couch potato. So then let's go to Shiva. Then they go to Shiva and, oh my God, even worse. They find him sitting, he has given up half of his body to the Divine Mother Parvati, Ardhanarishwaran, as the male and female figure together. He's sitting, half the body is himself and half is his wife, Mrs. Shiva, Parvati. They were thoroughly disillusioned. He can't teach us meditation. So to teach them a lesson and to give them enlightenment, Shiva is supposed to appear as Dakshinamurti, the south-facing form of grace. And the greatest grace of God is the instruction which leads to, the knowledge which leads to enlightenment. Enlightenment, straightforward, what I just mentioned, our infinite, limitless consciousness nature, awareness nature, this vast radiance which we are. To realize that teaching is given by Shiva. And of course, the teaching was also extraordinary. He taught them in silence. He didn't give talks. He didn't give classes, nothing. He just taught them, he's supposed to have taught them in silence, and the sages who were sitting around him, their doubts were dispelled. Maunam vyakhyanam. The explanation is silence. Advaita Vedanta can be taught in a nutshell. Make it as brief as you want. If you want to make it in all the vast literature, compress it into a pithy saying, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya Jiva Brahmaiva Napara. Brahman is the only reality. Consciousness, pure consciousness is the only reality. The world is an appearance in consciousness. And you are none other than that consciousness. That's one way of putting it. Suppose you say, no, make it even smaller, even shorter, more precise. All right, Tat Tvamasi, you are that. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, I am pure consciousness. No, make it even smaller, shorter. All right, Om. Yeah, and if you explain Om, if you see the Mandukya Upanishad, it explains Om as the one consciousness which experiences our waking life, that is and our dream life, that is U, and our deep sleep experience, that is And all three are illumined by one consciousness. And all three are appearing in one consciousness and indistinguishable from that one consciousness, which you are. And that's Om. You say, no, make it even more concise. All right. And Dakshinamurti teaches by a gesture. Mudraya bhadraya. This is called the gesture of consciousness. Chin mudra. And what does it mean? This one stands for the ego. This finger. And when the ego is like this, associated with the physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body. Physical body, this one. And this ego says, I am this. Who am I? This. What is this? I. And the subtle body is nothing very esoteric, just what we all feel right now when we think and remember and understand and desire and love and hate and enjoy and suffer. That's the subtle body. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories, the personality within us, which we all experience. And there is also something called the causal body, not casual, causal body. It is like casual wear, actually. It's when we put on that, the Brahman becomes the Jiva. But anyway, let's not bother about that right now. So when the ego is associated with these three, I am this, and this is what we are naturally. That's what we think of ourselves and how we live our lives. And the instruction of Dakshinamurti and the instruction of Vedanta is to show that you are not these three. There is something, this pure consciousness, you are that. So when we realize, I am that, not these three bodies. This is pedagogical. This is again not the final statement of truth. This is a way of teaching. I am this. Then we are enlightened. And Dakshinamurti, if you see the iconography, is always, this is called Chin Mudra. The mudra, the gesture of consciousness. Chin Mudra. I was reading, anthropologists have said that we are the only apes who can do this. There are actually some other great apes who can do this. Opposable thumb. This thumb which can do this, and which enables us to operate machinery. And this thing is actually, this ability to do this actually, they say, is at the root of all civilization. We are here because of this, the ability to do this. Use the thumb and use the other fingers in opposition to each other, and then operate stuff, do delicate work. Anyway, that's just as an aside. The reference is to the first verse of the Dakshinamurti Stotra, composed by Adi Shankaracharya maybe about 1200 or 1300 years ago. A very beloved hymn. The hymn is often chanted as a part of a puja or as a devotional practice, but it contains the essence of Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta. And the first verse itself is very poetic, sublime, remarkable. Vishwam darpana drishyamana nagari tulyam nijantargatam pashyannatmani mayaya bahirivodbhutam yatha nidraya yasakshat kurute prabodha samaye swatmanamevadvayam tasmai shri gurumurtaye namaidam shri dakshinamurtaye. I salute the Guru, the teacher, who is also Dakshinamurti. I salute that one who gives us this teaching. What is this teaching? The entire universe, Vishwam, is like a city seen in a mirror. It's like a city seen in a mirror, but within oneself. Just like we see a whole world in a dream. When we fall asleep and we dream, we see a whole world there, the dream world, which is within us. When we wake up, we realize it was not actually outside, it was all within us. And the one who realizes this, and realizes that myself is non-dual, whatever I saw as an other people, other places, other times, other objects, they're all nothing but me. There is no real other. The one who realizes that at the time of awakening, to that one I salute, who is also the Guru, who is also Dakshinamurti. Go my salutations. So that's the very beautiful hymn, the first verse of that. And there occurs this city in the mirror. The universe is compared to a city seen in a mirror, but then immediately qualifies it. It's important. The examples are very useful. The reason why so many examples, analogies, metaphors are used in Advaita Vedanta is that because what is being taught here is so subtle, it's difficult to describe in language. We are operating at the very margins of language. We're trying to do something with language what language was not designed to do. Language was designed to operate in this world of duality, in this world of appearance. But we're trying to do that with language. And therefore, examples, metaphors, analogies are used. There, it is the duty and the skill of the teacher which matters. Because an example is meant to illustrate something, show something. Now, when you say the universe is like a city in a mirror, the moment we think about a city in a mirror, you can imagine what a city in a mirror is like. You have a mirror, and if you stand up, especially high up like this, and in our parking lot and point it out to Los Angeles, you will see Los Angeles in the mirror. Especially at night, you can see all the glittering lights and everything in the mirror. But of course, our first reaction would be, yeah, what's the big deal about this? There is Los Angeles outside, and you hold a mirror. The very nature of the mirror is to form a reflection of something that is outside. And so if you're trying to say that there is a world, and here we are with our sense organs and our mind, and the world is in one sense, quote unquote, reflected in our minds, no big deal. That's what we all believe in. But immediately Shankaracharya adds, nijantargatam. Within oneself. Forget the city outside. Forget Los Angeles outside. Just see the mirror and the reflection within. That's all. That's all. You might say, why? Because it's an example. An example is meant to prove one thing. If Shankaracharya had computer screens and monitors or iPads, he could have given that example. But he just had mirrors. So he says, forget whatever is being reflected outside, just look at the mirror and the reflection there. So in the mirror, you see a whole city. We shall explore this example a little bit for the next few minutes. And then we'll apply it to ourselves. We'll see what a powerful pedagogical tool this example is. What a wonderful pointer to our own nature, our infinite consciousness nature this example is. So he says, to make this example work, forget the city outside. Just take a look at the mirror and see the city reflected in the mirror. And in the mirror, what do we see? We see streets, and we see buildings, and we see the sky and the plants and trees and cars and people. We see everything. The hill, we see all of that. The Hollywood sign, we see all of that in the mirror. Now notice the first thing about it. So first thing about the city in the mirror. First discovery we make, extraordinary discovery. Wherever you see in the city in the mirror, wherever, the Hollywood sign or the Capitol Hills the Capitol Records building or whatever you see, wherever you see, there the mirror is. I'm pointing out a simple thing, but it's very important. Wherever you see in the city in the mirror will be there. Wherever. Whenever you see the city in the mirror will be there, whenever. And whatever you see in the city, the buildings and the cars and the people and the sky and the earth, mirror, mirror, mirror. Isn't it true? We must first be clear and agreed upon with the example. Then only we can apply it. Is this true? Is this clear? You say, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Go ahead, get a move on, right? Now the claim here, the big claim here is, just as the mirror is the foundation, is the ground of the city in the mirror. Can I use words like that? It's the foundation, it's the basis, it's the ground, the underlying reality. I'm trying to give words for adhisthana in Sanskrit. The Sanskrit word is adhisthana. The ground, the underlying reality, the basis of the city in the mirror is the mirror. Therefore, wherever, whenever, whatever, sounds like a song. Wherever, whenever, whatever you see in the city, it's the mirror, mirror, mirror. Now the claim is consciousness. And let's be clear what he means by consciousness. It means you. It just means us. Our core nature, our basic nature, our fundamental nature. Consciousness is the basis, the ground, the foundation of this universe. Huge claim. Huge claim. Yeah. 2 steps have already been taken here, which I mentioned just before starting at the beginning of the talk. You are awareness. Whatever you are aware of, that you are not. Step 1. That is Shankaracharya singing in the 6 stanzas of Nirvana. Do you remember? I'm not the mind, I'm not the ego, I'm not the memory, I'm not the intellect. I'm not the 5 senses, I'm not the body made of 5 elements. I am Shiva, I am bliss, I am consciousness. Do you remember? Mano buddha hankara chittani naham chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. That's step 1. That's the separation. That's the analysis. But then in that 6 stanzas of Nirvana, Shankaracharya does sort of basically half the work. At the end he completes it. Just people who are not looking out for it might miss it. But the second part of the work is, when you look back upon what you are aware of, yes, you are not what you are aware of, but what you are aware of, the objects we are aware of, that which we are aware of, that is not other than you. This I can repeat like a mantra. And the more you hear it, the more puzzling it should become at first, and the more interesting it will become afterwards, and more stunning it is. What is this mantra? You are quite other than what you are aware of. But what you are aware of is not other than you. You're quite other than what you're aware of. The mirror is quite other than the city in the mirror. But the city in the mirror is not other than the mirror. Shankaracharya gives the dream example. You, the dreamer, the dreaming mind by itself is quite other than the places, things, and happenings in the dream. It can exist without the dream. But the dream, the constituents of the dream, the elements of the dream, the people in the dream, the events in the dream, the places in the dream are not apart from the dreaming mind. They cannot exist without the dreaming mind. Therefore, this distinct consciousness which you are, which I am, But the objects of consciousness are not distinct from it. This consciousness is the ground, the foundation, the underlying reality of all these objects, of all this space, all this time, and all these objects. This is called adhisthana, the ground. The mirror is the ground of the city in the mirror. Consciousness is the ground of this universe. It's a huge, huge step. I'm just giving you the claim itself and trying to illustrate it with examples. 2 examples I'm using. One example is mirror and city. The other example Shankaracharya uses is the dream example. Same thing you can apply, the dream example. Isn't the dreaming mind the ground of the dream? The basis, the foundation of the dream? Whatever you dream in the mind, whatever you dream about, the places we dream about, the time which is there in our dreams, they are all nothing but projections of the dreaming mind. They don't exist apart from the dreaming mind. That's obvious, no-brainer. So the dreaming mind, the mind, is the basis, the ground, the underlying reality of the dream universe. The mirror is the ground, the basis, the underlying reality of the city in the mirror. Consciousness is the ground, the basis, the underlying reality of the experienced universe. I hope you're listening carefully. I'm slipping in words here and there which you should be alert about, and you should flag it and catch me in the question-answer session. Yeah. Why did I say the experienced universe? What does it mean? Anyway, so that's the first thing which is being claimed in this example of the city in the mirror. Just as the city in the mirror is founded on, is grounded in the mirror itself, similarly, this universe is grounded, is based on, is founded in consciousness itself. What is the relationship between consciousness and its objects? We are all aware. And we are aware of something. That's life. Think about it. What is the most essential, if you reduce all of life to the basic equation of life, subject and object, awareness and its objects. That's all that there is. Think of something else. Nothing else. Nothing else. I often give this example to clarify. There might be a doubt in our minds. You know, it's all very well to talk about consciousness, but right now, for example, there is this vast universe. You just talked about Grand Canyon, Swami. There is a vast Grand Canyon. Millions of bits of rock and places and nooks and crannies which you're not conscious about. You don't even know that they exist. There are planets and stars which we do not even know anything about. I don't even know what's under this desk right now. How can you say everything is in your consciousness? How can you say that? Let me give an example. I have often given this example. The question was raised by our senior-most member, Bill Conrad. He's a legend in our Vedanta society. He's 100 years old this year. He is a veteran of the Second World War. He used to fly in bombers in the Pacific Theater. So he's a physicist and a skeptic, a realist. So he said, no, Swami, the world is not in our consciousness. Consciousness is in the world. This is the common sense view. So we are sitting here in this room. This is exactly what he told me. We are sitting here in this room, and I'll prove it to you. Let's put a camera in this room, and we will both leave the room. Then we'll go outside, and then we come back again, and I will show you the camera has taken pictures of an existing room which is empty. No conscious beings there. The room existed by itself. And then we as conscious beings came into the room, and we became aware of the room. It's not that the room exists in consciousness and depends on consciousness. Consciousness is the ground of the room. Not at all. It's just a real world which exists, and we as conscious beings have come into this real world. A tiny, this vast time, ocean of time and space. We have just come in a corner of it. Which scientist said that this vastness of space, there are these little balls of mud, planets. And on that, a slight mold has grown, which is life. And in that mold, thin layer of mold, there is this occasion, right now there's occasionally a civilization. And so That's all that we are. If the universe decides to apply an antifungal agent, we'll be gone very soon. We'll be washed out we'll be gone as if we didn't exist at all. So he says, see, the camera will prove to you the room exists without any conscious beings. So I said to him, Bill, in your consciousness, you thought of this experience. In your consciousness, both of us left the room. You put the camera and both of us left the room. In your consciousness, we re-entered the room. In your consciousness, you showed me the pictures in the camera which showed an empty room. In your consciousness. At which point did you step outside your consciousness? Is it even possible to step outside your consciousness? It's a very simple idea, but difficult to wrap our minds around. What it means is there's a distinction. We'll discuss this more in the Q&A. There's a distinction between consciousness and knowledge. It's true to say there are vast number of things in this universe, places and things which I don't know about. You don't know about. No human being knows about. But both, what Vedanta is claiming, both the known and the unknown are appearances in consciousness. I'll give you an example. The dream example makes it very clear. In our dream, suppose you're walking around here in the ashram in a parking lot, and you don't know that you're dreaming. And you see the parking lot, you see the cars, you see the Swamis, you see the temple, and you also feel there is a vast city, Los Angeles, beyond this ashram, and beyond this is the whole world and stars and planets, which I do not know, I do not see at all. I see only a tiny bit, a part of this ashram. But the moment you wake up, you will think, oh, the whole of that ashram which I saw in my dream and the so-called Los Angeles and the world and the whole unknown universes existed, all of it, the known and the unknown, the little known and the vast unknown, they all existed in the dreaming mind. It's the mind which appeared as the known part of the dream universe and the vast unknown part of the dream universe. But both were equally in the mind. Just because the unknown Los Angeles was not seen in the dream doesn't mean it existed outside the dream. It was also part of your dream. Similarly, in consciousness, this entire universe appears as the known, as the unknown. So this is I just made a first pass at this example, city in the mirror. And we are making the claim here that consciousness is the ground of this universe, just as the mirror is the ground of the city in the mirror. The rest of it follows even more dramatic results, but they'll follow easily. The second discovery, the second implication, the second result of our investigations is when you look at the city in the mirror, we all know there is no city in the mirror. What's there in the mirror? Mirror. In the mirror, when you show the city of Los Angeles in the mirror, when you see the Hollywood sign and the buildings and the cars and the sky and the hills in the distance, are there hills and skies and Hollywood signs in the mirror? No. What's there in the mirror? Just glass. It's a mirror. Mirror real, reflection is reflection. It's false. It's an appearance. So the second great claim that we are making, that this example makes, the world is like a city in the mirror, the world is an appearance in consciousness. In that case, consciousness is the reality and the world is an appearance. The mirror is the reality and the city is an appearance. Oh, you can make all sorts of distinctions. You can see the building. Just because it's an appearance doesn't mean it'll disappear. In the mirror, you can distinguish one building from another. You can distinguish one person from another. You can distinguish the sky and the earth. You can distinguish the Hollywood sign from the reservoir. Everything you can see. All distinctions will be clear. All language will work. Language will work. You can use words to designate what you see in the mirror. And the cars will run very well. And the planes will fly and the birds will fly. And all of that. Everything will function well. Everything will be linguistic usage is there. And the distinctions are all very clear. And yet, all of that is still an appearance. Mirror real, city appearance. Consciousness real, world appearance. This is the Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya claim of Advaita Vedanta. Brahman is the reality of which the world is an appearance. Now, by appearance, we don't mean that, oh, suddenly I realize the world is an appearance. Now my credit cards don't work and, and the food becomes suddenly tasteless. Not at all. Everything will function exactly as it has been functioning. Only we realize what it is. We realize the underlying truth of this appearance, that it's not a city, it's a mirror. It still looks like a city. It's not a universe, it's consciousness. Still looks like a universe. It looks, walks and talks and quacks like a universe. So everything will continue. This is the word in Vedanta, they call it vyavahara, transactional reality. The world of transactional reality. This is the second result we get. What are the two results? Don't forget. What was the first one? Mirror is the ground of the city in the mirror. Consciousness is the ground of this universe. Is the basis of this universe. Second, one step forward, a bigger claim. Mirror is real. The city is not really a city. It's a mirror. It's appearing, looks like a city. Similarly, consciousness is real, and it appears, is experienced as this universe, including this body, including this subject and the object, one consciousness. Vivekananda says, one alone exists. It appears as nature, soul, subject, object and subject. Further, the third great result of our investigations into the city in the mirror. Notice a peculiarity about the city in the mirror. Nothing that happens in the city in the mirror, in that city, affects the mirror. There can be an earthquake, entirely possible. There was one actually in the Bay Area just a few days back. But the mirror is not affected. Just because you have a big crack on 101 doesn't mean that the mirror will get a crack. It's an appearance. The movie screen is not affected by, say, an explosion in the movie, or does the movie screen start burning up? Not at all. Or by a tsunami in the movie, does the movie screen get wet? Not at all. The appearance in the mirror does not, the city in the mirror, nothing that happens in the city in the mirror affects the mirror. Nothing that happens in appearance affects reality. Shankaracharya's famous, in one place he says somewhere, that all the water in a mirage cannot affect even a grain of sand of the desert. Why? Because they belong to two different orders of reality. So the mirror is not affected by the happenings in the city in the mirror. And our deepest reality, the consciousness that we are, is not affected by the happenings in the appearance we call the universe. That's why we say, lives may come and go. And then the body changes from childhood to middle age to old age. Consciousness doesn't get old. From, the body becomes wrinkled and old and bent. Consciousness doesn't become wrinkled and old and bent. It displays the body, which is wrinkled and old and bent. The same Bill Conrad, he was complaining, grumbling, Swami, my memory is not what it used to be. I said, Bill, it's fine. I'm half your age and my memory is not what it used to be. But you are not the memory. You are that which is aware of the slowing down mind and memory. But you are not slowing down. You're fine. He said, fat lot of good that does, Swami. Yes, but it does do good to step back, psychologically speaking, philosophically speaking, ontologically speaking, from the ever-changing mind and body. And see that it's like a movie playing on a screen, like reflections in a mirror. It does not affect the ground of that movie, the basis of that appearance. You are fine, regardless of what happens in the body or even in the mind. But you means you have to be very careful which you. You as this limitless awareness, as the absolute reality of this universe. This is called asanga. The unattached is too mild a word for this. You are this Teflon-coated consciousness. Non-stick cooking-ware is there. So you are this consciousness. It's non-stick because it does not belong to the same level of reality. That's why it's non-stick. It appears. But everything at the level of appearance, everything is affected. As long as we are like this, body, mind, and the causal body, subtle body, and physical body, and I'm like this, I will definitely be affected. Everything that happens in the physical body and in the subtle body, they will affect me. So the third great point is, the mirror is asanga. If you look closely, we have said two things. When we say the mirror is the ground of the city, that means whatever is there in the city, in and through that, the mirror is there. This is called immanence. It exists in and through, a reality which exists in and through this diversity. And when we say it is asanga, non-attached, non-stick, Teflon, then we are saying transcendence. Swami Vivekananda said, we Hindus worship a transcendent, immanent God. The ultimate reality of this universe is where? In this universe. It's right here. Just as the mirror is right there where you see the city. Where is the dreamer in the dream? Right there in the dream. Whatever, whoever, wherever the dream is, whenever the dream is, the dreamer is there. So the ultimate reality, pure consciousness, is right here. So it is immanent in all our experiences. But this pure consciousness is not at all affected by what we experience. It's not damaged, corrupted, destroyed, does not age. So it is because it is transcendent, it transcends. Another name for that is asanga, unattached. And finally, one more conclusion from this. This is the deepest ever, we put all of it together. Notice one thing about the city and the mirror. In the mirror, there are so many buildings, so many people, so many cars, so many places, sky and earth, and so many things are there. Things are there, people are there, actions, changes are there. But none of them are anything other than the mirror. They do not have a countable, if you start counting, how many people can I see in the city in the mirror? You can count, so many people, so many cars, so many buildings. But if you count the mirror, none of those things are a countable second apart from the mirror. The claim is the mirror is non-dual with respect to the city in the mirror. There is no second thing in the city in the mirror apart from the mirror. Just as in our dreams, there is nobody, nothing other than you, the dreamer. You may dream of an audience of thousands. You may dream of cities and people and events, whatever. We do all sorts of dreams come. And yet, it is true, all of us, without being philosophical at all, we get up and we say, oh, it was all a dream. It was nothing but my own mind. I appeared in all those forms, in all those events in the dream. There was no second entity in the dream apart from the dreaming mind. There is no second entity here apart from you. Nobody is another to you. I'm repeating Holy Mother's last words. And there's nobody here who is another to you. This person and that person equally are appearances or nothing other than that one consciousness appearing in these ways. There is no second reality here apart from you. You are non-dual with respect to the universe. This is called in Sanskrit Advaitam, non-duality. These are some of the tremendous results we get from the city in the mirror. You are the ground of this universe. You are the reality of this universe. You're entirely unaffected. You transcend this universe, space, time, and object. And you are non-dual, even while experiencing a universe populated by billions of beings and billions of planets and stars, yet you are non-dual. That one vast radiance which we are is non-dual. Advaitam. As long as we do not know ourselves as that, as long as we are like this, not like this, as long as we are like this world, it seems separate from us, out there. It seems real, quite apart from us. Us means quite apart from this individual being, as we find ourselves, as we think of ourselves. This is a separate reality. As Bill Conrad said, it exists apart from consciousness. It's a real world out there. Not only that, as long as we are like this world affects us tremendously. Terror and temptation. This world pulls us and repels us because it's another. An attractive other pulls us. A repulsive other repels us. Some situations are very nice. We aspire for that. Some situations are awful. We are scared of that. We want to run away from it, change it utterly. And yet, when we awaken to this reality that we are this limitless pure consciousness, then the first thing which will happen is, whatever we experience, we are that. Wherever we experience it, we are there. Whenever we experience the universe, then we are. Time, space, and object, we are the ground of that. The second thing which will happen is, when we awaken to our reality, is that this universe will no longer seem like a separate reality, real and out there. It's you alone appearing in all those forms. Third, we will realize in the midst of all kinds of troubles that there is a center, an eye of the storm, which is not affected by the storm. At a certain level, at the deepest level, we are all right. Even when the body might be getting old, body might be getting sick, even when people might treat us horribly, or worse, people might not have anything to do with us, completely lonely, solitude. It's a big problem. I think I was reading England created its first ministry of loneliness. Yes, it's sad. Ministry of loneliness. Loneliness affairs. So, no. You realize, it's very interesting, you realize there is no one apart from you, but you don't feel lonely. The solitude in which you are completely comfortable. With billions of people, there's only one reality. And you are that. They are also equally that. Everybody's equally that. And you are non-dual with respect to the universe. You are this one consciousness when we awaken to it. This is called prabodha samaya. Now look at the beautiful example of awakening. Awakening from a dream and awakening into our real nature. Awakening into our real nature is called enlightenment. What happens when we awaken from the dream? I look back and I see, oh, those places I went to, they were not places. I alone was there. I, the dreamer. The time of the dream, the place of the dream, and everybody in the dream, and every event that happened in the dream, that's me. I was there. We don't think about all this, but now I hope we will. We'll use the dreams as an exercise in Advaita. We generally don't do that. We just get up, oh, there was a dream. Now let me get on with my day. But no, let's just dwell on it. That I was the ground of this tremendous diversity of time, space, and object I saw in the dream. I am the adhishthana of the ground of the dream. Similarly, I have woken up into this waking world. I am actually the ground of this waking world. Second thing we notice, what do we say? That's the most obvious thing we notice, even if you're not philosophers. We feel, oh, it was a dream. And so this Chuang-Tzu, I think the Chinese philosopher who woke up, he was dreaming he was a butterfly, and he woke up. And then, because he's a philosopher, he thought, oh, so am I a philosopher who was dreaming that he was a butterfly, or am I a butterfly who's now dreaming that he's a philosopher? What would Advaita say? Regardless, butterfly, philosopher, both are appearances in one consciousness. You cannot deny that you're consciousness. To be a philosopher, you have to be conscious. To be a butterfly, you have to be conscious. The butterfly nature and the philosopher nature are appearances in one consciousness. I mean, even if you see God, God will appear to exactly this consciousness which you are. The mind will be tremendously different. It will be a highly spiritualized mind. Then only you have a vision of God. But the consciousness will literally be the same. If you don't have this consciousness, no God experience also. So when we wake up, we realize, just as we realize that the dream is non-dual with respect to us, all those people in the dreams. Oh, we also realize, oh, it was just a dream. What do we say? It was just a dream, especially after a nightmare. Oh, thank God, it was just a dream. What are we saying? I was so scared. I was so terrified. But now it's all right. Because? Not because I did not see it. I saw it. Not because I was not scared. I was scared. I had a vivid experience. I have memories. But the crucial difference is what is called very concisely in Sanskrit, mithyatva nishchaya. the determination that this is an appearance, the appearance nature of it. Oh, it's a dream. The reality is, it didn't happen actually, though I experienced it, but it didn't happen actually. What happened was, my eye was dreaming. I was all of that, even all the scary stuff. Then that makes it all right. Not forgetting it, not thinking, now let me think of something positive, that was horrible. No, just realizing it was an appearance makes it all right. Just like a horror movie. So I saw a movie, quite horrible, but I enjoyed it, aesthetic experience. I was scared out of my wits. How delightful. Only because the crucial thing is, it's a movie. That's the only thing that makes it okay. Similarly, I am the ground reality of this universe. Therefore, nothing that happens in this universe or in my little life affects me. Little life reminds me. Swami Ramakrishnananda ji. So he was instrumental for many, many years, working very hard to establish our monastery and temple in Chennai, in Madras, in those days it was called. Sister Deva Mata traveled from an American lady. She traveled from the United States to India at that time and met many of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, including Swami Ramakrishnananda, and stayed with them and observed them and talked with them. So one day she was listening to the stories of the hard struggles that the Swami went through. And she writes, she felt very bad. She felt, why should such a saintly soul suffer? And she said, I asked the Swami, why did you have to suffer so much? And the Swami looked astonished. He said, what of it? My real life is eternal. Let the Lord play with this little life as he will. See, the same idea. This particular life is a tiny blip and also an appearance in the underlying life, of the spiritual life, our nature as consciousness, which is perfectly all right now. So unaffected, this is called asanga. Your transcendent nature transcends the ups and downs, the vicissitudes of this life. And that makes this life, you are safe in this life itself, in the midst of all kinds of struggles and sorrows. And that makes this life, then you can use this life not to protect oneself, but in the service of the Lord. Let him play with this little life as he will. We are running, we're running scared from lifetime to lifetime, as if we are being chased down and hunted down. Stop being scared. Stop being scared, not being afraid. You cannot die. Vivekananda himself, to Ingersoll, he says, I know I cannot die. So there's no need to be afraid. I know I'm one with the universe. Imagine the joy of living when you know you're one with the entire universe. You're not in a hurry. There's nothing here except you. There never will be. There cannot be. So that's the next thing we realize. When we wake up from a dream, we realize, in spite of seeing so many people, so many places, so many events, none of them are separate from me. The dreamer is non-dual with respect to the dream, the elements of the dream. So non-dual with respect to the dream, Advaitam. And all of this happens when we wake up from a dream. We might just say, I never noticed it, Swami. Well, now we better notice it. And then you apply it to our life, our waking life, and say, like that, I awaken to my true nature, my real nature as pure consciousness. I go from this to this. And I look back, settled in this, grounded in this realization that I am awareness. Now you look back. There is this beautiful footnote in the Nectar of Supreme Knowledge, which Revered Maharaj has translated, in the 6th chapter, Atma Manana Prakarana, where it's a quotation from a sub-commentary on one of the toughest books of Advaita Vedanta, Advaita Siddhi. There's a quotation from a Chandrika commentary there. It says, being grounded in your nature as awareness. Now look upon this world. You will see they are all appearances of yourself. And therefore you, the awareness, are called Sat, pure existence. Being grounded in this awareness, in this consciousness. I'm quoting from that commentary. Being grounded in this consciousness. Now look upon your life and you see you are ever fulfilled. There is nothing that this consciousness you could ever want. Therefore, you, this consciousness, you are called Ananda, bliss. Being grounded, this is a subtle one. Being grounded in that consciousness, that I am this consciousness. Now look upon all little things, all beings, places, all limited things in the universe. Places, events, objects, people, lives. All limited, beginning and end, coming and going, changing. Look upon them. You will realize that's why you are called aparichinna, limitless. You are limitless because all of them, you are not limited, you are not separate from all of them. All those events are nothing but your appearances, like a movie playing out on you. You, this consciousness, you are called avarichinna, limitless. So very beautiful sequence of, it keeps telling you, ground yourself in awareness. Basic idea is, whenever we face any problem in life, take a step back, do this. Ground yourself in awareness and look back upon the problem in life. You will get the deepest solution. You'll have to deal with it. At the physical level, you have to deal with the problem. At the mental level, you have to come up with some solution. But at the deepest existential level, you will see you're fine. You will get a smile. Like Dakshinamurti. Prabodha sameya sakshat kurute swatmanamevadvayam, who sees one's own self as this non-dual reality. To that Dakshinamurti, who appears as the Guru, who teaches me this, who is my own self, who I am also. To that one reality is this salutation, is this bowing down. This is namaidam, this salutation. The philosopher Arindam Chakravarti, he has a way with words. He plays with words to bring out deep philosophical insights. So namaha, salutations. Now I do salutations going to the shrine. I, the jiva, the individual being, I bow down to the Lord. Jivatma bows down to Paramatma. That makes sense. I bow down to the Lord. I bow down to God. But what does it mean when I say I bow down to myself? My real nature, what does it mean? So Arindam Chakravarti, he plays on the word, he brings out two meanings, beautiful meanings. One meaning, namaha. He goes back to the Vedic roots of the word. In the Vedic times, where the worship was a fire sacrifice, where the priests, accompanied by the chanting of mantras, would offer oblations into the kindled sacrificial fire, offering to the Vedic deities, and they would chant, idam indraya, idam na mamaha. This is offered unto Indra, some deity. This is not mine. And the whole act of worship was understood as sacrifice. I was reading in old Icelandic or something, the word for God is actually the word for sacrifice. Even the meaning of the word God is the deepest, oldest roots are in sacrifice. So, sacrifice. Whatever is mine, I offer it unto thee. And then I need my disease to be cured and the lottery ticket to be... I need something back. So that was the transactional idea. I'm praying, I offer you this, now do the thing for me which I want. So that was the old idea. I mean, not just old, it's also pretty common today. So that's mass religion. But the crucial idea is the definition of worship as dravya tyagaha, as the renunciation of an object, ownership of an object. It's not mine. And that na mama, not mine, is compressed into namaha, not mine, not mine. And therefore, notice this. I am firmly settled like this. I am this body, mind, this personality. I am Sarvapriyananda, this guy, this orange guy, I am. This is it. And now what do I do? These three, clearly they do not belong to me. This body, this mind, this subtle body, the causal body, not mine. I offer it unto you, unto Brahman, unto God. Namaha, namama. Moment I do that, I realize my own nature as limitless consciousness. So the very act of namaha, to say that namama, these three are not mine. I offer these back, these are the Lord's, I offer these back unto you. It belongs to you anyway. then I am set free from this, into my limitless nature. I'm set free from the cage. This is the cage. I'm in this cage. I'm set free from the cage the moment I give this up, and I naturally settle down, recede, become one with my real nature. Namaha. This is one meaning of Namaha. Second one I'll mention is even more cute. And then I'll end. He is quoting from a Kashmiri Shaiva philosopher, Abhinavagupta, where the word used, Professor Arindam Chakravarti quotes Abhinavagupta saying, Atmanam namami. You see, I salute the Atman, the self. But he says, look closely at that word, namami. Ma means to measure. Ma means to measure. The Sanskrit word ma means to measure. What can be measured? Only the limited. Only the limited. The world can be measured, space can be measured, time can be measured, objects can be measured. That which is limited can be measured and described. And that becomes an object of empirical knowledge, of science. But he says here, the self cannot be measured. I do not measure the real self. Na mami, I do not measure. I do not limit the real self. This is limited. After all, this is limited. This body has a certain age, and the mind has a certain characteristic. This is limited. But when I say Atmanam na mami, I have to give up these three. And I settle back into my limitless nature. If you didn't quite, someone to look a little puzzled. What? So we have the Q&A, so we can you can always ask about that. These two meanings of the word, the whole question is, how do I use salutations in non-duality? When you are saying, I am that, what does salutation mean? So two meanings, according to Professor Arindam Chakravarti. One is I let go my body-mind identification, then I become non-dual. That's the meaning of salutation. The other meaning is, I do not limit myself to this body-mind nature, so I become the limitless, or I realize that I am the limitless. Both namaha or namami, I do not measure, or I let go. Both meanings. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. I pray to Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada, Swamiji, and all the other great masters throughout the history of our religions and spirituality to bless us that these insights may become living insights in this very life of ours. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. We'll meet in the Q&A again, I think, yes. Please tell us your name and ask the question.
Mahesh Anand. And the question is, all these exercises about consciousness, the mirror, and great. Like that mathematician, I want the equation. Mm-hmm. And maybe you gave the answer towards the end, in that, real life, that guy's flying business class, I'm in the back. Maybe you gave the answer, oh, he's also part of me. Or this is transitory. This is for me today, maybe I'll be there tomorrow. So is it a mind game? Is that the equation?
No, it is not. When you say, we see all these tremendous differences in life. That guy's flying business class, I'm in economy class, and there's a clear difference. I'm suffering, that guy is relaxing. And what they do is, it's cruel. They'll show you all the fancy stuff that's coming out from the galley, and it's served to them. And if you think that the lady is coming to you with the tray, but she stops exactly when the business class ends and goes back. And then somebody else comes and tosses you, here are your peanuts, or whatever it is, your pretzels. So there's a clear difference. Now what Vedanta says is, he's not part of me. It's not a mind game. It's not reframing. No. First, take a look at what you mean by I. What we did today is a little bit of an advanced Vedanta. Vedanta really begins with the I. We didn't do that today. It begins with an investigation of what do I mean by I. Before I go on to him and business class and economy, before all of that, what am I? Unless I question that, Vedanta will not begin for me. So when I question that, my first reaction would be, that's a no-brainer, that's not a problem. I am this body, I am this person. After all, I am Mahesh Anand. That's who I am. And Vedanta asks you to question that. And the way to question it, they also give you the technique. Like a can opener, to open a can, they give you the technique. The technique is this. You clearly exist and you are aware. And whatever you are aware of, that you are not. This is whole classes should be spent on this precise can opener, let's say. I'll repeat that. You are aware. What you are aware of, you are not. Now clearly you are this. You are not this building. I'm Mahesh Anand. I'm not this building. I'm sitting in this building. But what about the body? Am I this body? Now if that principle, the can opener, is correct, I am aware of the body. In that case, I must admit the body is an object to me. All my senses objectify the body. I can see it, I can touch it, I can smell it, I can taste it. If my tummy is rumbling, I'm hungry, I can hear it. All my senses objectify the body. It's an object of awareness to me. Just as, for example, this paper is an object of awareness. I don't say I am the paper, I am aware of it. Why do I say I am the body? I am aware of it. So I am awareness, and the body is one more object, a very important and intimate object, but it's still an object. If I am not the body, then what am I? As long as I don't even question who I am quite obviously the body, and it's not a question I'm bothered about. I'm more bothered about the guy sitting in the business class. But now when I say I am not the body, I am the awareness which is experiencing this body. Am I the mind? Am I the personality? Am I the thoughts? This person called Mahesh Anand, am I that one? But then you apply awareness. Are you aware of your own thoughts? You say, I can be. I can introspect. Are you aware of your own feelings? Yeah, of course. Who else is aware of my feelings if I am not? If I'm aware of my feelings, if I'm aware of my thoughts, then I am not my thoughts or my feelings. They are also objects to me. And in what sense are they mine? They are also objects to me. If I am that awareness which is not a body, not a mind, then I've gone from here to here. Then I am awareness itself, and everything else, body, mind, business class, the other guy, they're all appearances in awareness. Then from that perspective, you have to look back upon life. How long is business class and economic class important to me? As long as I'm the guy Mahesh Anand. If I'm awareness, the same awareness in all beings, then what difference does it really make if this guy is in business class and that guy is in economy class? So my personal equations are removed from that. That's the beginning of Advaita Vedanta. Just an investigation. It is also common to say Sankhya and Yoga and all of that I am awareness and everything else is an object to me. Advaita goes further. Then we had these 4 conclusions which we drew throughout the talk today. That awareness is the ground of reality, awareness is real and the world is an appearance, awareness is not affected by the appearances, and awareness is non-dual with respect to the appearances. Anyway, that's a good segue into our discussion. All of what I said makes sense only when you ground yourself as awareness. I will talk to you as awareness. If you talk as a body-mind, I will try to force you from here to here. If we do this, then you will see most of the questions we ask, the answers also we can figure out for ourselves. At least intellectually we can, even if we don't feel it that way. All right, who's next? Yes. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Pranam Swami, my name is Harish Kumar.
Yes.
I ask questions based on my life experiences, so I'll be very brief.
That's the best way to learn Advaita Vedanta.
Our son has a dog, and he comes and stays with us for a few days, now and then. I take him out for a walk.
Yes.
He's happy running around, chases butterflies. He does his thing, I clean up. Then he sees the other dog. He's all ferocious. I had to hold him and say, hey, it's okay, sit, etc. Then I come home, and then he's all happy. So what did I learn from that? I asked myself a question. Perhaps I need a leash for my mind, without which everything that I hear in Vedanta and other things stays in the mind all right, but gets kicked out like a football. So my question for you, Swami, is, do I need a leash? How do I get it?
The leash is a very good example. The mind is exactly like the dog. Happy, chasing butterflies, and then sees something threatening and becomes all growling and baring its teeth, and then again happy and relaxed. So, leash for the mind is a very good idea. Now, if I have to put my mind on a leash, then what am I? Then I'm not the mind. Just as I'm not the dog on the leash, I am not it. I'm not the mind either, which is such a big thing to claim. That means I am not the thoughts, I'm not the emotions, I'm not the memories, I'm not the projects and desires, I am not my complaints, I am not, my pleasure and pain, I am not my list of demands for Christmas shopping. None of them I am. They're all objects to me then. What am I? I am awareness itself. Now, how do I get the leash? Three things. Imagine this body, mind, consciousness, this whole thing being like a chariot. This is an example. What is SUV today? This is an example given in the Kathopanishad at 3 levels. So it says, imagine the horses, our senses being like the horses. Imagine the reins with which the horses are controlled. Our mind is like that. Imagine the driver of the chariot. You are not the driver. Very interesting. The driver is the intellect. The driver of the chariot is the intellect. And your consciousness, what are you? You're the passenger in this chariot. You're the passenger in this chariot. Normally we don't think like that. Sometimes we think we are the chariot. We are the horses. Or if we are a little reflective, I am the driver of this personality. But Vedanta says none of that. Even the driver is an object, you're not the driver, you're the witness consciousness. Now, what do you need to do? As far as consciousness is concerned, we need not do anything, we cannot do anything. But there are 3 things to be done at the level of the senses, mind, and intellect. At the level of the senses, training of the senses is very necessary. Vedanta says, it's like Kathopanishad says, like the horses are well trained, then the chariot, the passenger will reach the destination. This is self-realization. If the horses are not well trained, you're going to crash. So the well-trained horses, basically it boils down to an ethical life. The senses should go where it's moral to go, necessary to go, should not go where it is immoral to go, unnecessary to go. Whatever the direction I have to take in my spiritual life, the horses have to go there. The senses have to be engaged. The 5 senses of knowledge, the 5 senses of action. Our life has to be engaged in spiritual life, in spiritual cultivation, in service, in meditation, in prayer, all of these. So basically a disciplined, moral, spiritual life. Step 1. Step 2. Horses may be well trained, but if the reins with which you hold the horses are loose, they will not be responsive. Your commands will not, the driver's commands will not go to the horses. It's like you're driving, the SUV is fine, but the steering wheel comes loose in your hand. Whatever you do, it doesn't translate into you'll crash. So, at the level of the mind, the Kathopanishad recommends, you'll be surprised. Thousands and thousands of years ago, samanaska, which is an exact Sanskrit word for what we call mindfulness today. Samanaska literally means mindful. Attention, focus, concentration, mindfulness. The mind has to be alert, to be mindful, not perpetually distracted. All knowledge will be lost. All training will be lost if the mind is not mindful, not alert, if it's continuously scattered. So mindfulness at the level of the mind. Third, The driver, what does the driver need? Says the driver, buddhi, sarathi, the driver, needs to be well informed. So this Vedantic understanding which we are talking about, the intellect should be infused with that with Vedantic understanding. What is the understanding? My real nature, what is beyond the intellect, pure consciousness. That is everything is, it is aware of everything, but it is not the intellect, not the mind, not the senses, not the body, not the external world. I am awareness. That understanding should be there in the intellect of my real nature. So the well-informed, in Sanskrit, Kathopanishad says, Vijnanavan, well-grounded in Vedanta. The intellect is not confused. It doesn't think, I am the body-mind. No, I am awareness. Whatever appears to me, I am not that. That is the information at the level of the intellect, well-informed intellect. Mindful, the mind is mindful. And the senses are on the right path, that which takes us towards our goal. Then the chariot reaches the goal, which is realization of what you already are, that is pure consciousness. So that's how you get the leash. A very good question, though. The whole of spiritual life is encompassed in that. Ethical life, mindfulness, and Vedantic knowledge.
Question on this side.
Yes.
Hey Swami, my name is Susan Kanal. I'm from Nepal originally, and I have a deep interest in Tantra and the similarities and differences between Advaita Vedanta and Tantra.
Yes.
So is supreme consciousness intentional? You know, what I mean by that is you can still train your three senses, and sometimes when I'm listening to these lectures on both sides of the equation, it feels like things might go good for you, like there's so you've trained all your senses, it could still be very, things can still end up being very negative in this ascribed body for you in that sense. So I'm just curious about if you think there's an intentionality to the supreme consciousness.
What do you mean by intentional? Do you mean it in the philosophical sense? In the philosophical sense, intentionality means consciousness is about something. Or do you mean it in our common sense, in the way that supreme consciousness has an intention, has a motive? Do you mean it in that sense?
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess in both of those ways. Because for it to be ascribed, if you're saying okay, is the point only awareness? I guess if I should ask it that way, because you can still be aware of things, and things can still be horrible to you in this material body.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me start with that and the tail end of the question. You can still be aware of things, and things can still be horrible to you. The moment you say things are horrible to me, what does that mean? Is it awareness? Can anything be, no matter what is happening in the city in the mirror, can it be horrible to the mirror? No. Why not? Remember the four conclusions we drew. Number one, the mirror is the ground, the foundation of the city in the mirror. Number two, the mirror is the reality, the city is an appearance. Number three, the appearance cannot affect the reality. If the appearance cannot affect the reality, how can something be horrible to you, the awareness? Can you say that something can be horrible to me as the body? Right. That's true. But you are not the body. So that is the beauty of it. When Sri Ramakrishna is asked that, how are you feeling today? It's a terminal throat cancer, a horrible thing. A doctor was telling me that it's one of the most worst kinds of cancer. You cannot eat, it is painful, you cannot swallow. We don't realize how much we are swallowing our own saliva. So the saliva continuously drools out of your mouth because you can't swallow. And he was asked, how are you feeling today? How are you today? And he says, it hurts and I cannot eat. And this person, Hari, who asked him, he said, but I see, sir, you are in great delight. And Sri Ramakrishna strangely accepted that. He said, oh, the rascal has found me out. Now let me put it in terms of your question. Are things horrible in terms of the body? Yes, they are. It's terminal, progressive, fatal cancer. And it's going to kill him. The body will die very soon, within a few months of that. So it's horrible at the level of the body. But at what point, at what level does Sri Ramakrishna say, I am in great bliss? He agrees with that. How? And are they equal? Is it true that it's equally horrible and I'm also equally in great bliss? That doesn't seem quite right. From a certain perspective, it's horrible, it's painful. He was not pretending when he said, I can't eat, it hurts. He was not pretending. But there is a deeper truth, not an equal truth, a deeper truth that, yes, it's all right. As pure consciousness, I'm fine. Another time, when somebody said, we want you to eat with this mouth. He says, I can't. I can't ask the Divine Mother for that because I'm eating. The Divine Mother shows me I'm eating through all these mouths. Now to say that, no, I must eat through this mouth, through this body, I'm again reaffirming I'm putting the pure consciousness back in the cage. I'm going from here to here again. I can't be very honest from this perspective to say, I must eat through this mouth, this one. Now, let me go back to the deeper philosophical aspect of your question. Advaita and Kashmiri Shaivism, or Tantra. One good book there's one book by Jaidev Singh. He gave a talk in the Institute of Culture in Calcutta, where he talks about Advaita and Kashmiri Shaiva Agama, the Trika system. And I think notes about 18 or 20 points of difference. Yeah. So there are many, many differences between them. But specifically with regard to your question, is consciousness intentional? First, in the sense, is it about something? Consciousness, pure consciousness, Chit or Brahman in Advaitic sense is non-intentional. It's not about anything. It is the reality. And it's only consciousness reflected in and channeled through the mind and the senses and the intellect which is about something. All our thoughts are about something. Our feelings are about something. Our understanding is of something. Our concepts are about something. They are intentional in the philosophical sense. And they also have an intention in the ordinary English sense. We have a purpose, a goal. But that's also at the level of the mind and the intellect. Notice, when the mind and the intellect are shut down in deep sleep, what happens to your intentions? Gone. What happens to witness consciousness, pure consciousness? As always, no effect at all. So this is the clear distinction, but from an Advaitic perspective. So all intentionality, Advaita will put at the level of the transactional, the Vyavaharika appearance. Not so Tantra, however. From a Tantric perspective, pure consciousness, non-intentional, is admitted, but the intentionality of consciousness is also pure, is also real. Consciousness at the highest level is also intentional. And it manifests, and so it is about this entire universe, while retaining its non-intentional pure nature. You can call it the Divine Mother, you can call it Shiva, you can call it Shiva Shakti, whatever you want to call it. And the intentionality of consciousness is not relegated to the level of appearance. It's also real. And the ultimate reality also has an intentional side to it. If I may put it in this way, in Kashmiri Shaivism, they say the ultimate reality is not non-intentional pure consciousness as in Advaita Vedanta, but it is prakasha vimarsha. Consciousness, which is pure light, pure awareness, but also intentional, also aware of itself in a kind of self-reflexive way. I will leave it at that. These are very profound, and I always think there is truth on all sides. Logically impossible to reconcile, but it's not necessary that it has to be logical. Yeah. Yes.
Pranam Swamiji. My name is Lakshmi. First of all, thank you so much for coming here. Swamiji, my question is, how do I practice this philosophy you explained, that I am pure consciousness, I'm pure awareness, all these experiences that I have in my daily life is just a projection in my, or a reflection in my consciousness? Because on a daily life, like we don so many hats as a wife, as a mother, as a boss, and we go through so many challenging situations. Now, while I understand philosophically, when a trial or when a challenging situation happens, everything goes out of the window, and we react and outburst, and a lot of decisions we make at the spur of the moment. My question is, how do I practice and how do I dwell in this awareness 24/7? So just for success in life and remain unaffected by any of it that is happening in my life.
Yeah, it
Thank
would be
you.
very interesting. We can write a whole book on that question. if I were to parse your question. So first of all, straight away, how do I practice this? Answer, you can't. It's like, no, I'm being serious. And we'll go deeper into this, and I'll show you how you can practice it at three levels. The first level is you can't practice it. Anything that you practice is artificial. This is the only thing that is not artificial. For example, if I ask you, how do you practice being Lakshmi? You'll say, what a silly question, Swami. But it's very important to you. You are Lakshmi. Don't you devote hours and hours of practice to being Lakshmi? Morning meditation, Lakshmi meditation, evening Lakshmi meditation, repetition of the Lakshmi mantra, yeah? And reading the Lakshmi Upanishad. You said, no, Swami, it's natural to me. I don't even need to practice. I don't need to do anything about it. If anything, that's the source of the problem. Lakshmi is the problem. I don't need more Lakshmi in my life. So, now what we are talking about, our nature as awareness, is exactly like that, more so. Even the Lakshmi identity is an assumed identity. The name was given by your parents, and we got used to it, and that's how you respond to Lakshmi. And a personality was developed over one, if not many lifetimes. But our nature as pure consciousness is already a given. You cannot do anything to it. No practice will change it. No practice is needed to change it. What is needed is to discover it. It must become like Lakshmi so that no practice becomes effortless. Notice your question. How can I remain in that awareness 24/7? Let me ask you, how do you remain as Lakshmi 24/7? Effortlessly. You don't even think twice about it. How much energy do you put into it? How much practice? How much discipline? Nothing. And you are already that. This choiceless awareness. This effortless awareness. This very natural awareness. We already are that. The problem is not to how do I remain in that. It's that why do I think I am not that? I'm quite clear. I feel obviously I'm not that, Swami. I am Lakshmi. And I have many problems. And what you are describing seems very different from what I am. Vedanta says you are that. Except that for some reason we don't think we are that. And there are many things which appear to you, the consciousness, which we have latched onto, a mind, a personality, certain ideas, certain feelings, a story, and a body. I've latched onto it and think, I am this. What we need to do is go from here to here. And how do you do that? Use this simple equation. What I am aware of, that I am not. This tendency in my mind, I have these negativities. Are you aware of it? Of course, they trouble me. If you're aware of it, I am not that. You are not those negative tendencies. They are not even yours. They are appearances to you. One sadhu put it so beautifully. He says, "Kya badloge Mahatma ji? How many things will you change?" He says, early in the morning in your cottage in the Himalayas, ray of sunlight comes, the first ray of sunlight. He says, millions of particles of dust float around in that. In limitless consciousness, millions and billions of minds and personalities are floating around. How many will you change? How many will you polish? First and foremost, realize that what we truly are. Realize that first. The project of improvement, improved Lakshmi, Lakshmi plus plus, that will happen. No, it will happen. Because that's why you are here. And that's why we're trying all these things. We are all doing that, improving the personality. Yes, that will happen. And that can happen to a great extent to the level of becoming a saint, to the level of becoming a Buddha, to the level of becoming a Jivan Mukta. But we are not talking about that here. We're talking about something much greater. Not about one personality. What we are talking about exceeds all the Jivan Muktas, all the Buddhas, all the avatars. It exceeds even God. It's the real nature of all this God and avatars and Buddhas and Jivan Muktas. And our real nature also. We're talking about that. And so that you realize by that simple process. You can apply it anytime now. Anything that I'm aware of, that I am not. Whatever I'm aware of, that I am not. Then you deal with it. What am I then? I am awareness only. I am, I shine. What do I practice? So this is the first answer. How do I practice this? This is the first. 3 levels of answer. Second level. Yes, you can practice. How? always keep it real. I like this saying that Americans have, keep it real. Always keep it real. Sadhu put it this way, how do you practice Advaita? He says, when you ask, I love this, he says, when you ask a little kid, what's a nose? The kid will not say, a nose is the organ of, the olfactory organ and the organ of respiration. No, the kid will say, this is a nose. So use it like that. When I say, what's a body? This. What's the mind? That. What's awareness? So keep it real. Just like this is a nose. Instead of giving a thought, there's a saying, do your words come from more words or do they come from silence? Don't trade words for words. How do you practice Advaita? Don't trade words for words. Don't go for looking for definitions of Brahman, Atman, pure consciousness. No, you are it. Why do you have to look in a book? All the books put together will not reveal even a fraction of what is inside you, what you truly are. So I am that. Have confidence in yourself. I am that. I am Brahman. So that's the second level of practice. Keep it real. That I am Lakshmi, is it real to you? Is it real to you right now that you are Lakshmi? Yes. Yes, it's real. It's real. Keep it real like that. This body, it's real, yes. Mind, it's real. Consciousness, it's real. It's real. I was giving a talk in our ashram in Narendrapur in Calcutta. It's Vedanta and all of this, Panchakosha Vichara and all of that. And then this lady indignantly, in the question answer, first she charged across from the audience to the microphone and said, all this is nice, but it's all theoretical. I said, madam, not one word of Vedanta is theoretical. You are standing here and asking me a question. Are you theoretical or are you real? She said, I am real. This body is real or theoretical? Is it real? And then the breath flowing through your nose into your lungs, is that breath real or theoretical? It is real. Then goes more subtle. The thoughts in your mind, the question you are asking, those are thoughts, those are there. Is it a fact or is it some theory? It's a fact. Just like that, as you go further and further, subtler and subtler, and more inward, you will discover consciousness is the greatest reality that there is. In fact, all reality depends upon the testimony of consciousness. Consciousness testifies to what is real. So that is the second level of practice. Keep it real. Knows. Third level of practice, I'm becoming more and more practical, quote unquote. From a Vedantic perspective, more and more unnecessary and theoretical, but I'm becoming practical. So third level of practice. Stay with the teachings, read the Gita, the Upanishads, listen to the talks on Vedanta. Think about it. Think about it. What are they saying? Because what the beauty of Advaita Vedanta is they're saying something which is true right now. And they're claiming all of it is available to us right now. Right now it's available to us. When we become enlightened, we will say, oh my God, why didn't I see this? It is always there, and it's equally there for everybody. And the strange thing about it is, call it Maya or ignorance or whatever, we don't see it. And then we go around our lives being Lakshmi. So you see it, you think about it. And if once you have heard the teachings and you have thought about it, clarity you get, then you meditate upon it. There are so many techniques of non-dual meditation. Then it will become real. Then the real practice begins. What is the real practice? Live life as Lakshmi now, after that realization. This will be a Jivan Mukta Lakshmi, or a Lakshmi who is trying to be Jivan Mukta. Equipped with that knowledge, I am awareness, shining in this body mind as Lakshmi. Then you will see. So 3 levels. You cannot practice. You are it. Second, keep it real. Third, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Listen, think, reflect upon it, meditate upon it. Yeah. We're somehow neglecting. Don't you guys have lobbyists? You have to pay them something.
Pranam Swamiji.
Yes.
I'm Oscar, and I was wondering if you could clarify the difference between the ego, the subtle body, the self, and the Atman.
All right. I'll just, for those of you who might have similar questions, we're throwing around so many terms, And this is all real. It's already a fact. Body is there, mind is there, ego is there. All of us, we experience it. But it helps to have clear definitions. So there's a book called Vedanta Sara. It's a manual of definitions. It's a dry little volume, but I used to teach it in the training center. It's good to have a set of definitions at your disposal. Not that you have to be limited by it, but at least have a common language to talk about when you talk about ego, mind, body, subtle body, causal body. What are they? They are very precisely defined there. For example, when you ask what is an ego and what. So, physical body, we have no question. We know what is the physical body. What is called the subtle body is what is available to us in first-person experience. See, the doctor can examine the physical body. That's available publicly, this one. But what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, even pain. Don't doctors nowadays ask on a scale of 0 to 10, how much pain are you feeling? They should know. Why aren't they, they can do some pathological tests and they can scan what is the firing of your, what is it, C fibers, I think, for pain. Yeah, and the neurons, the C fibers, how much firing is going on there, and then I can tell you how much pain you are in. No. Pain is a first-person experience. I have to ask you, the doctor has to ask me. So why? Pain, pleasure, emotion, memory, understanding, these are all in the subtle body. There is something called the antakarana, inner instrument, and it has 4 functions. One is the mind, manas, another one is the intellect, buddhi, another one is the memory, chitta, and another one is the ego, ahankara. What are the definitions? The mind processes information. The 5 senses bring in information from the outside world and dump it into the mind. It's like a CPU. It processes information. There's a definition, sankalpa vikalpa atmakam manaha. Mind is that which processes the information, considers various alternatives. You're working at a math problem. You're struggling with it. That's the mind. The same thing, it's the mind. But when you make a breakthrough, I get it. I know the answer to it now. When the knowledge arises, when the processing is resolved, this is what it is, this kind of knowledge. That is called buddhi, intellect. In Sanskrit, nischayatmika antakkarana vritti buddhihi. The determinative faculty of the inner instrument is intellect. Memory, that which recovers old traces. Experiences leave traces on our minds. So those traces are still there. If you recover them, it's a retrieval system. That is called memory, smriti. And finally, your question, ego. Ahankara, it is called abhimanatmika antakkarana vritti ahankara. Ego is the appropriative function of the mind, of the inner instrument. What do you mean appropriative function? Pretty simple. A lot of things are going on here. I'm breathing, I'm talking, I'm thinking, I'm listening. Notice these are all very different systems. There's a respiratory system, breathing. There is a vocal system, talking. There is a memory, which is I'm understanding, remembering. There is an auditory system, I'm listening. But notice, what did I add with all of them? I am talking, I am breathing, I am listening, I am hearing, I am thinking. So this I, what does it do? It's an appropriate, it connects, it owns all the activities going on in this body and mind and unites it into one person. That's what the ego does. I am, it's a function. The ego has no reality apart from that function of the mind. Sometimes it stops. If you're very absorbed in a task, if you're listening to music, if you're studying, if you're playing a game with great concentration, the ego will disappear for a moment. It's just a function of the mind, but a very vital function of the mind. It integrates whatever is going on in the body-mind into it's what makes you a person. But it's not you. It's not you. It's just something that the mind does. It's like a shorthand for the mind. But we identify with the ego and it becomes all about the ego then. So this is one function. So like this, all of them are defined. You asked, your question was, what is the ego and what's the subtle body? The subtle body is all of these. The ego is one of the functions of the subtle body. But consciousness is apart from all of them, illumining all of them, giving them existence and awareness. Yeah. And Vedanta says the first step to be Vedantic is to realize I am consciousness. You have the ego. Deploy the ego. Deploy the mind. Deploy the intellect. Deploy the memory. Deploy the physical body. Use all of them. Like a vehicle, for example. But you are awareness. You're neither the body, nor the mind, nor a function of the mind called the ego. The first line of Shankara's Nirvana Shatakam, Mano buddhankara chittani naham. Very interesting. The Sanskrit, ahankara na aham. How interesting. If you translate it, it literally means I am not I. It's flat out contradictory. I am not I. How can I be not I? But then what am I? I am the witness of the I. The ahankara is literally, if you translate it, is the I maker or the I constructor. I am the witness of that I constructor. Ahankara. Ah. Yes. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Yeah. Swami, my name is Chandan, and I have a more fundamental question. I think it's also a definition-based question. So as we read and understand more about different Vedantic viewpoints or different schools of Vedanta, we see that many schools differ with Advaita in terms of what is real and unreal. Mm-hmm. So when we say real, what do we really mean by it, right? So what is the definition? Yes. And are all these schools accepting on the same definition of reality and unreality, these things? Yes. Also, follow-up would be like, if we say something in real, Advaita actually establishes that if something changes, if it is permanent, it is real. Changes, unreal, right? These sort of definitions. So are all these schools accepting to these particular definitions?
It's a good question. When we have these debates about what is real, what is unreal, world is real or unreal, Brahman is real, what do you mean by real? At one point, a philosophically trained person will immediately ask this question. What do you mean by real? Define real before we go into this debate any further. And even if you are not philosophically trained, after we spend some time talking about these things, thinking about it, we will be forced to this. What am I talking about? What do you mean by real? So we'll be forced to define real. And it's a whole debate. It's been going on for millennia actually. For example, between the earliest debates were in the Upanishads themselves. Sadeva sommedamagrasit, reality alone, existence alone existed before all this appeared. Asadeva sommedamagrasit, non-reality was before all this was. But how can some reality come out of non-reality? So that debate goes back to the Upanishads. And then the next level of the debate, it came in the post-Upanishadic age, when the rise of the philosophical systems. There was a 1,000-year debate on what is real between, on one hand, the Hindu schools, and on the other hand, the Buddhist schools, and the Jaina school. A huge debate. So what is real? How do you define reality? And each of the schools came up with its own definition of reality. Very interesting. So, for example, this will make it clear, a little light on the subject. And then the next level of the debate was, after the Buddhists faded away from India, the debate was inside the Hindu schools, especially between Advaita Vedanta and the dualistic schools. So let me give an example of what I mean, and then we'll see what is meant by reality. The Buddhists, they define reality as practical efficacy. If it works, it's real. What it means by that is, suppose I got water in a mirage. Favorite example of Advaitins. Shankara also uses it. Buddhists say, no, that's not real water at all. Because when you go and try to drink that water, you will see you can't drink it. So it's not real water at all. If I could drink it and it could quench my thirst, then it's real. If it works as it is expected to work, as it is defined to work. In Sanskrit, artha kriyakaritvam satyatvam. Practical efficacy is reality. This, by the way, the modern American school, maybe the one original school of American philosophy, pragmatism. Dewey and Pierce, yes, their definition of reality was somewhat similar. I mean, sort of oversimplified as a cash value philosophy, a dollar philosophy. What's it worth? How does it work or not? But yes, very important. And in fact, Dewey's entire theory of education was based on this pragmatism. Modern American school education was influenced by this idea. So anyway, work. Does it work? Does it function as defined? Or does it fail at some point? Now, what does the Advaitin say to this? The Advaitin says, so work, if it works, then it's real? Yep. So suppose you drink a glass of water and you quench it, it feels wet and cold and quenches your thirst. Would you say it's real? Yeah. And the next moment you wake up and you will realize you were dreaming the whole thing then. You have to say that, yes, it worked. It looked like water, I called it water, it felt like water, it quenched my thirst, worked like water, fulfilled all, checked all the boxes. But the next moment there was a waking up, there was a correction. It's not water, I was dreaming. The whole thing was a dream. Now I'm woken up. So then the Buddhist says, okay, wise guy, what's your definition of reality? Because now you have to set aside this definition. How do you set aside a definition? It's the Nyayikas, the Nyaya school of logic, they set the parameters of the debate. So there are 3 qualities of a definition you must fulfill. 3 problems: ativyapti, abhyapti, and asambhavana. So the definition must not extend to something which is not being defined. So for example, your definition that reality is workability, it extended to dream water also, which is not real obviously. So definition fails there. So therefore, then the Buddhist now hits back. Okay, wise guy, what's your definition? Advaitam. Now the challenge, the ball is in my court. I have shown your definition doesn't work. Now you ask me, okay, tell me, what's your definition of reality? The Advaitin says, abadhyatvam satyatvam. That which cannot be corrected is real. Very interesting way of putting it. That which cannot be negated, which cannot be corrected. You can never ever have a cognition of the form, oh, it's not water, I was dreaming. Oh, it's not a snake, it's a rope. That correction, that should not be possible. And if you see, the only thing which satisfies this criteria, because somebody might ask, how does that help me? Because something I might take it to be real. It could be the Matrix movie. Next moment I might see it's not real. 1,000 years later I might see it's not real. I might never wake up from the simulation, and I might never ever correct it. How do I know whether something will be one day corrected or not, one day negated or not, one day cancelled or not? How will I know? So technically the answer is there is only one thing which is logically impossible to negate. What is that? It's consciousness. Think about it. How would you correct consciousness? How would you ever say, oh, consciousness is not consciousness, it's something else? That requires consciousness. The only uncorrectable by logic. You can call it existence also. When you say, this is not existence, existence is not real, what does it require? Existence. Or more correct, even more precise, consciousness. Because in Vedanta, existence, consciousness, they take it to be the same thing, being awareness. So this is an example of the debate where definitions matter very much. The new book, Reality Plus, by David Chalmers. So there he talks about virtual reality and reality. In one chapter, he gives 5 definitions of reality, including this correctability definition. Multiple definitions of reality is given. So you must have a definition. And if you notice, if you follow these debates closely, you will see each school has defined reality in a way which will prove their own position. And they don't share their definitions. But that does not mean you cannot arrive at a conclusion. You can arrive at a conclusion. You must see what definition finally is emergent, and you can't go beyond that. Others, and it does not mean that the others are useless. For example, as I said, pragmatic definition of reality is useful in so many areas of life. Then came the next and last point I'll make. After the Buddhists faded away, then came the huge debate between the Advaitins on one hand, and on the other hand, the Vishishtadvaitins, and particularly the Madhva school. Huge debate. The Madhva school, the book Advaita Siddhi, which I quoted, a commentary of that I quoted earlier, it starts with the first sentence of that book is, Kimidam mithyatvam yatvam sadhyate. What is this falsity which you are trying to prove? Is it this? Is it that? 5 definitions of falsity. And then they cut down each definition. Then Madhusudan Saraswati comes and defends each of those definitions, shows all of them are correct. Yeah. What is falsity? So these are the debates. It's a huge debate. But you have asked a very important question. When you talk about Brahman real, world real or false, what is reality? Yes.
First, thank you so much, Swamiji, for all of your lectures on YouTube and for being here. It's very inspiring. And you just answered the question about the subtle body, and my question is, can you please explain what is the causal body?
Yeah. Again, Vedanta Sara question. You can just go to the Vedanta Sara. The definitions are given there. The causal body is called ignorance, is called avidya. If you want practically, show me. Because I can show you the physical body. That's the physical body. Look inside. I can't show you the subtle body, but all of us are, each of us is aware of the subtle body within ourselves. So I know, okay, that's the subtle body. If you're trying to keep it real, what's the nose? Like that. Here is the physical body. Here is the subtle body. Now, what's the causal body? What does it feel like? The closest we can get to the causal body is our deep sleep experience. It is the Anandamaya Kosha. 5 levels of our being: physical, vital, mental, intellectual, and causal, or the bliss sheath. So that is regarded as the causal body in Upanishads and in Vedanta also. We can parse this physical body-mind into 3 parts or 5 parts. 3 parts: physical body, subtle body, causal body. Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira. 5 parts: Annamaya, the food sheath; Pranamaya, the vital sheath; Manomaya, the mental sheath. Sheath I'm adding later, but just the mental, let us say. Vijnanamaya, the intellectual; and Anandamaya, the bliss or the causal. So, simple straight answer: what does it feel like to be in deep sleep? That's the causal body. Seed state, let us say. Yes. Should we wrap up now? The last question then. Yes. You have the last word.
I know. My name is Bhavani Rochaudhary. Inside the mirror, I pretend to be a professor. So I tell my students that do show up in lectures, don't just watch Zoom,
Yes.
because live lectures are a lot more than just video recording.
True.
So same to you. I know there's a YouTube university, and we can listen to you on YouTube and read your writings, but I thought I would ask a question that you have answered. And see, one of the problems of a very good teacher is you represent this 1,000 of years of arguments. So when I listen to you, everything seems so simple. But clearly, I was talking to my therapist, and I was trying to explain to him the awareness, And so I said, I'm aware of things and all that. So he goes, oh, yeah, that's the observing ego in our language, right? So anyway, so I thought I would listen to you say in few words, the big elephant in the room, Buddha. So if Buddha was here in the lecture, what would you say? About everything? For example,
I wouldn't dare to say anything to the Buddha.
No, for example, I know you are defining something that everybody said is beyond logic and beyond something, right? So just wanted to get your live interpretation of Shuna versus the Purna, and not ascribing a word to it versus saying in parlance that you are that.
Yes. The first thing about live lectures, I remember there's one professor of philosophy at Harvard University, Goldfarb. I forget the whole name. Daniel. No. Joshua? No, Goldfarb. He is an expert on Wittgenstein, a leading authority on Wittgenstein. And he's the senior most professor in the philosophy department at Harvard. And he's been there at Harvard for 50 years as a graduate student to now being a professor. Now, he always says this. All the professors are, they have their web pages. I don't know what is called, Crimson Cart, and all universities are like that now. It's all online, and you've got the assignments and the quizzes and the discussion boards, all online. His is blissfully empty. Something is there, but not much, and hardly anything up to date. What he says is, come to class. Come, sit here, look at me, listen to me carefully. And these are very subtle matters. These will become clearer the more you sit quietly and listen and watch attentively. Things will fall into place. Even Siri is getting impatient. All right, let me just end with this. The Buddha and emptiness, when I'll take off from where I ended there, the deep sleep experience. The blankness and consciousness is the witness of deep sleep. That's what the Vedantist would say. Nagarjuna, post-Buddha, would say that's just your construct. In waking state, I am the subject, this is the object. In dreams, I am a subject and there is an object, a dream world. In deep sleep, it's useless to say that you are the witness consciousness and you are witnessing darkness. No, it's just a post-waking up reconstruction of what went on there. There is no subject, there is no object. The subject and object rise and fall together. They use an example which Vedantists will never use. Chandrakirti uses them. 2 bales of hay leaning against each other. If you remove one bale, the other bale also will fall. So subject and object are like that. You notice in your own, be true to your own experience. They would say to us, be honest, be true to your own experience. In waking and dreaming, there is subject and object. In deep sleep, no object, no subject. So both subject and object are therefore empty. Fine. That emptiness, Vedanta would say, I remember Nirod Baran Babu, who was a philosophy professor in India, who used to teach us Western philosophy, but he was a great Advaitin, a disciple of Abhedanandaji. When I gave him this argument, emptiness means just nothing. And he was a short man with big eyes. He said, but nothing to what? He explained, is that nothing an experienced nothing or a non-experienceable nothing? If it's a non-experienceable nothing, why talk about it? If it is an experienceable nothing, then to what or by what is that nothing experienced? That would be the Vedantic counter move to that. Buddha there, Nagarjuna also. Here there is a big question. I'll leave you with this. There's a big question. What does Shunyavada, what does Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, or the Buddha himself, what would they have said to this? There are 2 answers. One is Professor Garfield, J. Garfield, he says that keep your Advaita out of this, Swami. He said to me, that's literally what he said to me. He said, in emptiness, in Shunyavada, in Madhyamaka, if you feel that you're falling into a bottomless well, you've understood it. That's what's called anti-foundationalism. Any conceptual structure you set up, we cut it down. Yeah, it's not non-conceptual, pure consciousness. They'll say, shh, don't talk about it. The moment you talk about it, what you say is false. And the other answer is, I subscribe to that. They're basically talking about the same thing. Just the way they're doing it is very different. I did a very good course on emptiness, on Madhyamaka Buddhism, Indo-Tibetan Madhyamaka, under a leading world scholar, Professor Garfield. And at the end of it, my view was modified, not changed. I realized how different they are, the Advaita and the Madhyamaka. Their approaches are really different. But I'm not convinced that their conclusions are different. We'll leave it at that. It's a very emptiness way of leaving it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So thanks to our wonderful exposition of Shunno Purno, and it's all same. And really, we are so many ways we are enriched. Our mind, our intellect gets saturated with this noble thought. Thank you, Swami, for coming and enlightening us. Now, tomorrow, Swami will leave in the morning, so there is not much scope for this time for further class or lecture or anything. But we expect that he will come again and give us so joy. Intellectual food, physical food, you will get it here now. But mental food, intellectual food, and spiritual food, that's a wonderful gift for all of us. Thank you all for coming. So we'll go out now, and the food is ready, but the chanting, let us do it here itself. Because all Brahman, no? That we can do it in the shrine also, not near the food. Okay? So, this is Om Brahma Panam Brahma Havir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina